So hello everyone and welcome to yet another video from the series called The Call of a Drum. This is a preview of an upcoming course which will again be called The Call of a Drum, and this course will of course be about this type of handheld drums. It's a frame drum, but it's a drum that you can hold firmly in your hand and you can play with a mallet or a drumstick or a beater or whatever you want to call it. So, in this video, I would like to talk about the hands-on approach and how to have the actual experience of the instruments. What things can you do the instant this arrives home? So, these sort of drums, they do come in different sizes, not in different shapes. Well, in different shapes as well, because you can get it in an hexagon, or in an octagon, in a rectangle, or in a circle. It really depends on the tradition that the this specific shamanic drum, frame drum, is coming from. Right, so the one that I'm holding in my hand is made out of goat skin, and it is made out of wood, beech. So this is made from a German company called Schlauwerk, and you can see the branding in the circle of a drum. And they call these circle drums because they are, very often used to facilitate circle work. From the ancient times, we gathered around the circle, we gather around the fire, we have our drums, we drum. It could be for religious purposes, liturgical drumming, liturgical music. It could be for entertainment purposes, for secular purposes, secular music. It could be for anything. But the instrument remains the same. Now, you can get these in vegan versions, okay? There are far more animal skin drums that you can buy of this type of sort rather than vegan ones. But there are vegan ones. Remo makes excellent vegan drums. I have a vegan Remo Bandera frame drum up on my wall. And they make a sort of drums that they call the buffalo drum. Obviously, the buffalo drum, I assume, coming from the Native American tradition. But as we said in an earlier video, frame drums and this type that we now like to call shamanic drums, okay, these ones that have the fastings at the back, you can hold it like this. They have been found in many, many areas in the world, if not everywhere around the world. All right, so this is my drum. I just got it and I need to explore the instrument. So the first thing is obviously to observe what material this is made of, okay? Maybe when it comes to animal skin drums, you see these patterns, observe the patterns. Does it remind you of anything? Even the Remo, the vegan ones, they do have patterns on the drum head. So observe the patterns. Observe how it is fastened, the material is fastened. So for this one, for instance, I think it has a very, very clever fastening because you basically get these two big loops of fabric, of ribbon, of very strong ribbon, and they are independent. So you could possibly use one of these to hang it on a wall or something. Then you get a Velcro strap and you bind the two of them in a cross, and because the Velcro strap at times would harm my hand, I have wrapped a very tiny towel around it to make it more comfortable for me to hold. You can get handmade ones, and you can attend a workshop where you can make your own, okay? Making your own does not necessarily make it better. Sometimes the manufactured ones, well, this is actually supposed to be handmade, okay? But it's still manufactured. The manufactured ones, they may be sounding better at times, okay? Because there is a lot of precision involved in tightening the skin and the drum head for it to bounce appropriately and have a nicer sound. Especially in these ones, which are drums that you cannot tune. So you cannot change the basic frequency it vibrates in. Once it's made, that's it. That's what you get, okay? Now, so first of all, you observe the material, and if you don't know how to find out what the material is that has been used for your drum, you might want to go in the website of the company, or you can ask the maker if you bought it from somebody. Now, does it offer different tunings? This one does not offer different tunings. It is what you get. If it does offer different tunings, learn how to tune it. Learn what the process is. Do not be afraid of tuning your instrument. You really cannot break. Well, you could technically kind of break it, but really you can't. Okay, so don't be afraid to experiment with it. So while learning to tune your instrument, another very, very good consideration is for you to learn and distinguish between three major issues that seem to be causing some confusion in the community of non-musicians trying to approach drumming or trying to approach music for healing purposes and so on. And this would be tunings, different type of tunings, temperaments, and scales. Okay, so learn what the difference is and learn what it really means to tune an instrument. What does it mean, A, at 440 hertz? And what is the whole controversy, which isn't really a controversy if you ask musicians, about A 440, okay? So learn about these things. There is a little bit of science involved, but don't be afraid of it. Just, I will try to make a video at a later time. At the moment, there are some great resources about all these issues, and I will try to link them below, okay? So learn about these issues. Be aware of what happens musically, because we are using, obviously, the vibrations and the frequencies and the notes, the basic frequencies, the tones, the notes of these instruments, but you need to know what this actually means, okay? So sometimes, some instruments, some drums, especially the ones that have a fixed tuning, like this one, you can't retune it to a different note, to a different basic resonant frequency. They're really hard to sing with, and they're really hard to play with on other instruments, okay? And this will become apparent as you join other musicians and other people to play in a community music setting, in a friendly setting at a house or whatever. And this is because your drum might be tuned to a note that is not used very often in singing, or it's not very helpful to sing over, and so on. So as you grow more accustomed and you grow more knowledgeable and you understand more things about scales, tunings, and of course temperaments, do not forget the temperaments, because the people who are adamant that we should be tuning not in 440 hertz, they really do not understand the whole thing about tuning on a certain pitch and the temperament of the instrument. So this is a very important issue for you to understand. I want you to understand this before you feel very strongly about A at 440, A at 444, or whatever else, okay? So that is done. We're not going to talk about this anymore in this video. So use your senses. First thing, you use your senses. Whatever any other animal does, you just use your senses. You look at it. You look at the drum. As we said, look at it. Observe the patterns that the animal skin has, okay? You might want to devise a ritual. If you're vegan and maybe an animal drum has been passed on to you and you would like to use it because now the animal has passed on, is dead, and the skin is here and it can deliver good things, and maybe you want to use this, okay? Maybe you can devise a ritual that makes you feel good about it and makes you aware of the fact that this animal kind of keeps on having a voice through this drum and so on. I've heard other vegan people talk about it in these terms, so this is an idea that I would like to pass on. Because I feel really horrible every time somebody says, oh, I've got an animal skin drum and I just want to get rid of it. Yes. And if you want to get rid of it, just give it to somebody else, okay? And get a vegan one. But this is an option as well. Whatever, suits you better. So look at it and observe it. How does it feel in your hand, holding it? How does it feel next to your face? Look up close to your drum. Maybe you can hug it. Now I'm going to get into more weird stuff that musicians do. Kind of sit next to your drum or sleep next to your drum. See if you get any visions. See if you get any dreams, okay? So a lot of people, especially guitarists, they seem to have a very, very close relationship to their instruments. They name their instruments, for instance. So see if you can find a name for your drum. Pianists, no, not so much, because obviously you can't take the piano and sit next to it and meditate next to it or sleep next to it and so on. But guitarists, it's a kind of nice and cozy feeling, and you get into a meditative state. Maybe you play your guitar and you fall asleep, and then you end up sleeping with your guitar, and it's a nice kind of experience. So there are all these ways of connecting with your instrument, okay? And it's not just the drum, but we're just talking about the drum now. Okay, so hug it, sleep next to it, bond with the instrument. What does it smell like, fresh new instruments out of a factory or out of a company or out of a shop, they have a smell to them. And ultimately, of course, because it's a musical instrument, what does it sound like? Now we've come to the sounding part, to the voice of your instrument. What is the voice of your instrument? And you will find that even though drums, they have a very basic resonating frequency, they have different sounds and they can produce different sounds. And I would like you to explore these different sounds. And I would like you to get into a very childlike state and a very childlike mindset and just play. We use this verb when we talk about music, and we talk about play music, even though music can be a very, mentally demanding skill. On a cognitive level, it's a very, very high skill that you can develop. But still, we use this word, you play music. Even, those guys in the orchestras that have spent decades mastering their art, they're still playing music because there is a certain level of playfulness, even when the skill is that up high. And there is this sense of connecting with a younger self of yours, okay? So I want you to tap into that energy of your young self, of you as a child, and literally play with the drum, explore the drum. So don't think that this drum should be played in a certain way, because I've seen it in videos and I think that this is the way that you play a drum. So think as if you were a 3-year-old and somebody just gave them a thing, and that thing happens to be a drum, and they have no preconceived ideas about what a drum is supposed to be and how a drum is supposed to be played, and they would try pretty much anything with that drum, even stepping on the drum. I've seen it with my child. Don't attempt to step on drum, obviously. In some cultures, with regards to stepping over, not on the drum or over the instrument, in some cultures, even stepping over an instrument that somebody has laid on the floor is considered disrespectful, to the point that maybe the teacher might even dump the student if they were seen to kind of jump over an instrument. Okay, this is considered disrespect. So always be cautious when you are faced with the instrument of another person. Always ask for permission to touch it and so on. Especially with professional musicians, their instruments can cost insane amounts of money, and I'm talking more than your house. So don't touch them unless you ask for permission first. And generally don't jump over instruments, don't trip over instruments, and so on. So be respectful, okay? Especially these ones. It's literally a living thing because it has come from a living thing. It is an animal hide, it's an animal skin. So be respectful to it, whether you believe in that spiritual stuff or not. Other people do, okay? So explore the different types of sounds that this can produce. And again, think outside of the box, and any sound is valid. Don't go like being all judgmental about this. Oh, it doesn't sound very nice, So find out what your drum can do, okay? We don't just want the pretty sounds. We want the ugly sounds. We want the weird sounds. We want the eerie sounds. We want the joyous sounds. We want every type of sound that this instrument can make, because all of these different types of sounds can be used in different contexts, and they would give you a different feel, and they would give a different experience to your audience, okay? So don't just focus on pretty sounds. Any sound is valid. And this is a very useful lesson that I've learned from one of my teachers at Falmouth University. And thank you very much for it. So try playing it in an unconventional manner. Try drumsticks, try beaters, try mallets. So I have a mallet here. So this is a mallet, and it has a very hard sponge on it. and it's got felt on top of it. All right, it's a very typical type of mallet for percussions. So this is a large drum, so usually the larger the drum, the larger the beater, and the larger the surface of the beater that comes in touch with the skin. All right, so think about all the different places that you can hit your drum.